Welcome back to another episode of the Bastards of Boston Baseball. This is a new era of Red Sox baseball. Through every twist and turn, every major development, we are all on this journey together. This is going to be the most honest Sox podcast you're going to hear. No BS, just the truth. I'm your host, Jason Kelly, coming to you from Canton, Massachusetts. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Color of the Iris. Joining me on the show from Broward County, Florida, is Nick Diamond. Nick, how we doing?
Doing well, coming off back-to-back wins. Two big wins really needed to stop a losing skid to start the season. So feeling good, looking forward to going back home beating the Cardinals. So, excited to do this show tonight. So great to be back.
Absolutely. And where can people find you on Twitter, Nick?
Oh, yeah. You can find me at N Diamond Media, just like that.
Awesome. Also with us on the show from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, by way of Wyndham, Maine, is Terry Cushman. Terry, how are you?
Not too bad. A lot of things kind of started to trend the right direction this series, so we'll be going over that. Red Sox are still in the basement, tied with, is it Baltimore? Yep, tied with Baltimore. Both of us are just one game under 500. The Blue Jays lead the division. They're 5-2. Yankees are trying to hold a 9-7 lead. It's been an explosive firefight, but the division's kind of close and could look a lot different here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be one of the more interesting divisions in baseball. We know that for a fact. So should be competitive the whole way, and it looks like the Red Sox will be part of that competition all season long. So definitely excited for that. So for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, first of all, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Here on the midweek show, we do a top 5 or bottom 5, depending on how the series goes. So if they win the series, we do a top 5 players who contributed to that. If they lose the series, we give you the bottom 5, the dregs who helped them lose the series. So luckily, we're dealing with a win first time off. I feel like last year we had pretty much a bottom 5 every week on this show. So nice to have something different to start off the new season. So we will be giving you our top 5 list, and I'm in the leadoff spot this time, coming in at number 5. So we will lead off with Triston Casas. 3 for 9 on the series, was pretty quiet going in. Rafael Devers was covering his ass with his awful performance. A lot of people were ignoring how bad of a start Triston Casas had gotten off to, but he finally woke up, especially in this finale. Hit a monster home run, oppo against a lefty, so that's something that you really like to see. The strikeouts are still a little bit of a concern. He struck out 4 more times in these 3 games. He's not drawing walks, which should be his specialty. Again, it's a guy who's supposed to have a command of the strike zone, so that part hasn't really shown itself yet, but at the very least, he showed the power, got on base a few times, and he's finally starting to get into his groove a little bit. So this is going to be an important guy. I mean, he's hitting 4th in your lineup, so you're going to need production out of him with, Devers, Bregman. Once those guys really start to heat up, Casas is going to be responsible for driving those guys in. And look, we chastise him for it, but he's the one who said he wanted to go 41-20. So off to a slow start on that campaign, but hopefully he's at least picking it up a little bit here as they head back home for the St. Louis series. So, Nick, what are your thoughts on Triston Casas?
I'd still love for him to swing at those close borderline pitches, those 2-strike pitches that he.
We losing him?
Did I just mute for a second there?
You might have.
Okay, yeah. So I would love for him to swing the bat in those close borderline pitches, but besides that, he's starting to look better. So I'm glad he finally swung the bat, and
Yeah, so a lot of interesting things here with Casas. He did wake up. Devers was having a hard time making contact, and Casas's big issue was he was striking out looking quite a bit, and he did address that in the post game. He's like, it's something I have to work on. It's unacceptable to strike out that way. And it was kind of nice for him to, be critical in an honest way and be accountable for it. When Devers kind of started to wake up first, you know, the pressure could be on Casas. You guys were saying how he flew under the radar, but I just feel like I think the Devers vibes kind of rubbed off on the Casas. Casas is like, all right, Devers is hitting. I got to figure it out now. Perhaps I'm not that far away either. And by the end of the series, I think it was his final at bat in game 2 where he got his hit. So he's 3 for his last 6. And then that ball went over the fence. As you said, Jason, it was opposite field. And I keep asking myself, I'm like, it's cute that he's talking about getting 40 home runs, but how do you do that at Fenway as a lefty? And if he's going opposite field, that's how you do it.
Yeah, the opposite field power is a big sign for him because, like you said, Fenway Park, he's going to need that. He's going to want to target the monster if he can, because trying to pull as a left-handed hitter in that ballpark every single time, it's just a lot of those balls are just going to die on the warning track if he tries that. So good to see him using all the field and going the opposite way, and hopefully it's a sign that he's finally turning it around. So with that, we will go to number 4 on our top 5. And Terry, this is you. Who do we got coming in at number 4?
A lot of people probably wouldn't expect this guy to make the list, but I have to go with Garrett Whitlock. The dude has been nails. He's only given up, I believe, 1 run on the season. It was today, actually, in the finale. It was a very inconsequential run because we were up by 4 or 5 runs. And in my opinion, right now, just based on what I've seen, I would say Whitlock is the best reliever we have in the pen. And he was the guy I was hoping would possibly be the closer. And for right now, it's Chapman, and he's looked fine. So, let it ride. Bullpens are really never the same in August and September as they might look in April. So it's just very reassuring to go out there and see Whitlock just kind of be relatively dominant. In how many innings here in losing my spot, 6 innings, he's got exactly 6 strikeouts. He only has 1 walk on the season. He's got a 0.67 whip. These are all small sample sizes. So even though they look like video game numbers, I get it. It's only the second series of the year, but it's just extremely encouraging to see him basically reverting back to 2021, not only from a performance standpoint, but from a recovery standpoint. He had the bracing procedure, and as I said all winter, not a lot of guys have had that. So to see everything working, as well as it has, it's very encouraging.
Nick, thoughts on Whitlock?
I kind of lost audio for a second, but I think he looked really good. I'm kind of glad he's back in this 2-inning role for he's a elite reliever back in a setup man duty. He's not going to be in the closing role, but he did kind of close it out today in a non-save situation. But I'm glad he's back in the bullpen where he belongs. The stuff is up. He's up to 96, 97 over where he was last year before the surgery at like 92, 93, 94 in the starting rotation. So just glad he's back. He's going to be a weapon all year as long as he's healthy. So this is where he belongs.
Yeah, I agree. This is the role for him. And I agree with Terry. I think that at some point he's going to be getting the save opportunities over Chapman because we know Chapman's track record. We know his history. He's going to get to a point where he's walking the ballpark and his command is going to go and he won't be able to, hit the side of a battleship. So Whitlock has to stay healthy. Obviously I think they do have a plan with him, pitching him 2 innings at a time, maybe giving him 2 days off after that, kind of starting out with that, at least, early on. just to make sure he can handle it. But I'm glad the starter thing it seems like it's completely gone, dead and buried. He's a reliever now, full time. That's it. And look, if he keeps, pitching this way and keeps earning more opportunities, then he can worm his way into that ninth inning role. And I think that's probably where he's best suited. And I think that would be best for the team as well in the long run for Whitlock to end up being the closer. So it's good to see him healthy. It's good to see the velocity back up. And we'll see how many more opportunities he gets as the season goes on. But he is going to be a big part of that bullpen.
Just real quick, Cora did say he's going to mostly be pitching 2 innings at a time, and he's going to have 2 days off in between. So going to have to be a little strategic in how you utilize him, and hopefully that doesn't burn us. You might need him the next day based on matchups, or I don't know. And then if Chapman starts to scuffle and puts guys on base, I don't know where you go. And Slayton's the other sexy option. He did get knocked around pretty good in the opening game of the series. We lost that one 8-5, but gave up 4 runs. He did bounce back, let's see, today in the third game, did not give up a run. So encouraging to see there with Slayton, but Whitlock and Chapman are your 2 top guys right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another difference between 2025 and 24. You didn't have Whitlock in 24. And Lord knows that bullpen last year could have used him. So having him along with some extra pieces should really help stabilize the later innings. So we will now go to number 3 on our top 5. Nick, this is you. Who do we got at number 3?
We got Alex Bregman. He finally broke out this series after kind of a slow start in his Red Sox career. He went 5 for 14. He hit a home run today, a 2-run homer. Kind of looked up the nerdy numbers on it. It was out in every ballpark, so it was a legit home run. I know it really don't have to look it up when you're in Baltimore, but I know they moved the fences in a little bit, so you kind of wanted to gauge how far he actually hit it. But it was 397. I mean, it was out at Fenway. It was out at everywhere. So it was a legit home run, and hopefully that's a sign to get hot. He's historically not had a great April. He's not a really fast starter. He gets hot at the end. So let's hope he gets hot early and kind of leads the Red Sox back to first. So we'll see what happens here. But I think the Red Sox are back, at least to, at least they've turned it around from that little slow start.
Terry.
Yeah, so with Bregman, you're really starting to see the impact with the top of the order, or maybe the heart of the order is what I should say. With him in there, got his first home run, as you said, had a hit in every game, face planted himself pretty good there. And I think it was the first game, but that's exactly what you want to see with a guy like Bregman. And I think it's kind of influencing other players on the field. There were rumors well, not rumors, but there were reports that he had the torpedo bat, and he wasn't using it today. I'm not sure if he actually did use it in game 2. He was using it in the cage, but he hit a home run today with his regular bat, absolutely destroyed it. So I was listening to Will Fleming, and he was saying he can't wait for Bregman to come to Fenway and see the impact he'll have, not only with the Fenway crowd, but at Fenway Park. So being a pull hitter like he is, he could be golfing them over that green monster.
Yeah, I think Merloni made a really good point about that too, because he said for a guy like Bregman who's played at Minute Maid his whole career, he doesn't have to make an adjustment playing at Fenway because it's pretty much built exactly the same, except that the Green Monster is not a short porch. It's a tall wall instead. But Bregman doesn't have to change his approach because the ballparks are built very similarly. And we all know Bregman's career numbers at Fenway, they're fantastic. So this weekend, going up against St. Louis, finally getting to play at Fenway Park, he should show out, and playing half his games there, his production should be really good. So it was good to see him, hit the long home run in Baltimore. He had a double after that. Looks like he's really swinging the bat hard. Um, so it's good. It's good to see. I don't know, if he's going to use a torpedo bat or not. I know he's, like you said, he's kind of fooling around with it. He's practicing with it. Brought it out, I think, late in the game in game one. But otherwise hasn't really used it. But hey, maybe he doesn't need it. Maybe he just kind of wanted to train with it, mess around with it, and realize that, no, you know what, my regular bat's fine. So, and I'd say that given what he did in game three, I think the regular bat will work with him just fine. So, yeah, look, it's, this is the guy that they wanted. This was their number one target in the offseason, apart from Crochet. But in terms of free agency, he was their biggest target. And, he's starting to show out. He's made some nice defensive plays, turned a really sweet double play in game two that it was a hot shot that he was in on the field. Like he was drawn in, and it was a hot shot to the corner. He fielded it perfectly. Started a double play. It was against Mullins, so he was playing for the bunt just in case, and was still able to turn the double play, which was really impressive. So the defense has been there, and now the bat's waking up. So Bregman looks really good, and I think that once he starts getting some games at Fenway, he's going to look even better. So definitely a good series for him. So we'll move to number 2 on our top 5. Terry, who do we come in at number 2?
We are going with the guy who will be playing second base for the Boston Red Sox for the next 10 years. I assume. I mean, he could go to the outfield at some point, but for now, he's a second baseman. And as cursed as we've been at that position, I kind of hope he does keep it for the next 10 years. But had a real big series. Not so much in game one. He did, I think he had a sac fly, drove in a run, but then he was 2 for 4 in the middle game. Nothing left the yard. He didn't drive any in, but they were both doubles down the right field line. Ironically, who do you think was fielding those?
Tyler O'Neill.
Tyler O'Neill. Yeah, he was the one fielding them. And one of them rolled all the way back to the fence. I think it was the one he pulled down the line. But then today, in kind of somewhat of a, I don't know, I don't want to call it a statement at bat, but a pretty big at bat. He crushed a 2-run shot off of Old Man Morton, as I'm going to call him. That made the game 4-1. And it was still early enough in the game, but we're not used to having breathing room yet in games. We've lost a lot of 1-run games. So we had a nice cushion there. And if anyone needed a cushion, it was Tanner Houck, who's still trying to find it. Hasn't been terrible, but not like he was in the first half of 2024. So it was good to see Campbell have that impact. We did cover the extension in the last episode in the emergency pod, and it's just so nice to get that out of the way and get to the point where he can just focus on playing baseball at this point. There's no distractions, and he seems to be gelling really well with all the guys in the dugout. I saw something somewhere. I don't remember where it was. He prefers to refer to his teammates just as his friends. So, but it was a fun series, and I wonder if Tyler O'Neill was thinking, "Man, why didn't they give me the qualifying offer? This would have been so much fun."
Nick, thoughts on Campbell?
I absolutely love Campbell. The guy's he's amazing. His bat speed is incredible at 22 for not like a huge guy. Like he's not jacked. He's got Giancarlo Stanton level bat speed, Kyle Schwarber level bat speed. So I think he's an incredible player. He's going to play second base for a long time. I think maybe once he gets into his 30s, he might move to the outfield, but I think this is second base. He's a second baseman for at least 6-7 years. So I'm excited for his future. I'm excited for this year. I'm excited for next week. He's a great – I love watching him play. So he's going to be on a lot of these lists probably this year.
Yeah, I expected some shakiness with him playing second base. I kind of harped on that during the spring and in the offseason that, they weren't committing to him at one position, especially in spring training. He was, two starts in left field, then a start at second base, then, he'd sit, then he plays second base, and then two more in left field. And so I was a little unsure how he would be defensively. He looks fine. He's solid. He's not making tons of flashy plays, but he's making the plays he needs to. He's turning double plays just fine. He's not booting the ball all over the place. So that's great to see. And then, you guys talked about the hitting. I mean, his bat speed, man, you can see it. And, he's making adjustments on the fly, which is really impressive to see. When he was facing Morton today, his first at bat, he took a breaking ball that he kind of like backed away from the plate because he thought it was going to hit him. It was just a really nice breaking ball from Morton because he can do that. And Campbell sort of like looked at him like, "Whoa, that was a weird pitch," and then makes the adjustment and then crushes one a few pitches later. So he's already actively learning while he's in the batter's box, and I think that's the most impressive part. Because yeah, you can have all the bat speed and tools that you want, but if you're not learning and studying the game while you're doing that, those tools kind of go to waste. You can have elite bat speed, but if you have no vision at the plate, then forget about it. It doesn't matter. So I think that's what's impressed me the most, that like you can tell he's really studying the pitchers. He's working well with the hitting coaches. You can see him every time they pan to him in the dugout. He's talking to Trevor Story or he's talking to Bregman. Like you can tell he's a sponge. He's absorbing a lot of knowledge. And for a kid his age who just got this, massive contract, for a kid who was in, high A this time last year, and to see the ascent that he's made is really impressive. So I'm impressed with the kid. I'll take a mea culpa because all spring I said I want all of the big three to start in Worcester. Two of them did, but man, I'm glad Christian Campbell is up here because if this was like Vaughn Grissom playing second base, if they'd gone that route, like that would be just a black hole in this lineup. And Campbell has definitely been a catalyst, and I think that some of the other guys are feeding off of him. The veterans, Bregman, Devers, Casas. I think they're feeding off of the excitement that he's bringing. So it's great to see, and I can't wait to see more. I'm so glad that they got the contract extension done, and now, as Terry said, he can just focus on just playing baseball and just getting better and better every day.
The plate discipline, like you said, is just it's just been so refreshing to see a prospect come up here and just make an immediate impact. And arguably, he had the worst spring of the big three, but because we so desperately needed a second baseman, he got the call up. And I think he did have, not by a ton, but I think he did have the most at bats last year at AAA. But he does not swing at junk. And I'm looking at his extension, and which was obviously brilliant. And then I'm looking at the Rafaela one, and I'm like, man, they're just in different universes. You don't get nearly as good of an at bat from Rafaela as you do Campbell. And Rafaela did draw one walk in the middle game, so I guess that was good. And I'm not saying I think Rafaela is a major leaguer, but when they extended him, I'm like, that was a priority. I don't know. I hope I eat a ton of crow on him. And I spoke in one of the final spring training episodes. I really hope Rafaela figures it out and draws walks and improves the plate discipline. But what you're seeing from Campbell is just, I'm wondering who's got the higher ceiling, him or Anthony. Anthony's the number one prospect in all Major League Baseball. And when Mookie came up, I don't think he was an MLB top 100. I could be wrong, but he had his breakout at the major league level, not so much in the minors. And Mookie was drafted in the 4th round. So, didn't really have this elite pedigree, when he was first brought to the team, or brought to the organization, I should say. So we'll see. I mean, it's early. I mean, it's all about overreactions in the first half month, but like instantly I'm thinking could he be rookie of the year? Could he get MVP votes? Like, what's the ceiling? This might be, I don't know. This could be one of the greatest pre-arb extensions of all time. I'm so thrilled. And he's a righty, which we desperately need. I mean, Bregman's holding it down from that side of the plate. But after that, I mean, Rafaela is okay, I guess, in the 9-hole. You could do a lot worse. But who else do you have? I mean, Wong is just completely lost right now after having a very good spring. So it's just been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it really has. And you know what? There's going to be a rookie skid at some point, I'm sure. I mean, maybe not, but it seems like they all go through it at some point. So I'm sure, there might be a week where he ends up on a bottom 5 list. And, we have to have that difficult conversation of, look, he is still a rookie. There's going to be some growing pains. He might face a stretch of really tough pitching at some point that really challenges him. But again, the tools are there. And as long as he keeps learning and he's got, some good veterans in that dugout to, pick their brains, then I think he'll be fine. And as for Rafael, it would behoove him to get going because there's a certain outfielder in AAA who is not going to be in AAA for very long if he keeps doing what he's doing. So I agree with you, Terry. I hope he picks it up, but man, it's got to get going.
How's that even going to work when Anthony comes up? Because you can't take Duran's bat out. You can't take Anthony's bat out. I guess you could platoon him and Abreu, even though Cora's adamant Abreu needs at-bats against lefties. So I don't know how you resolve it. I mean, it's a good problem to have, obviously, but we're just so lefty heavy out there. I mean, all you have is Ref Snyder and Rafaela, and Ref Snyder 2 for 3 in the one game he did play. We lost that game, but hopefully, that's a continuation of last year. But I'm just excited. Our new guy, he'll be doing he's our super utility guy, Chris Felico, was asking in the war room yesterday. He goes, are we sure he's going to keep number 28? Because, I'm thinking about getting a jersey. And Nick was like, I think so. I don't see why you would change it. I mean, it's a low number. The only guy I know we've had 28 in recent seasons. The last one, or was Martinez 28? He might have been. Yeah. Okay. So another guy that was Adrian Gonzalez. So I guess they're probably the two more notable ones. Number 28 is kind of a sacred number to me because I've mentioned here and there that, I grew up a big NASCAR fan, and my favorite race car driver drove number 28, and he was killed in a helicopter crash at age 32. So kind of, to me, that's a special number, but yeah, so love it. He's my favorite at bat, and he's made the Red Sox fun again. Christian Campbell.
Yeah, if he doesn't keep 28, what would he move to? Like, there's not much opened.
I mean, if Bregman opts out, he could take number 2.
I think was wondering that because he wore number 2 in college.
Oh, did he?
That is his college number, yeah. But taken right now. So
I own a Andrew Benintendi number 40 jersey. So I was confident because, like I said in the war room, Mookie took number 50, and Benintendi had a ton of hype, from the moment he was drafted. So I'm like, oh, I see what he's doing. He's taken the next 10 down, and and then I forget who was number 16 before him, but it became available, so he took that one, and he wasn't really that good after that happened. So
yeah. We'll see. We'll see if he keeps the number. I think for now he probably will. He might be waiting on Bregman, but we'll see. Yeah, I was wondering that too, and I looked up his college number. It is number 2, so we'll see what happens with that. But there is one guy who stood above the rest, and he takes the number 1 spot on the top 5. So, Nick, who is number 1 this week?
It's the newly extended ace Garrett Crochet, his first start after getting $170 million, or he didn't get it already, but signed an extension worth $170 million. He went out there, he dominated a great Orioles lineup, although the Orioles were out without Gunnar Henderson. Jackson Holiday was out of the lineup. They weren't at full strength, but it's still a great lineup. He dominated them, and I still think he had more in the tank. Like, I think he could have been better. He had 8 strikeouts in 8 innings, 14 swings and misses. Last year against the Red Sox, he had like 20 swings and misses. The Red Sox were just terrible against lefties. I think he has more in the tank. He could even be better, but he went out there and showed what he can do, stopped a losing streak, put the Red Sox on track, went out there, won an easy 3-0 game. I think Garrett Crochet deserved this number 1 spot, and he showed why he deserved that extension. So I can't wait for the next start. He's fun to watch. He works quickly, pounds the zone. He only had 1 walk. He was just very good, 102 pitches, efficient. So everything you could ask for in that start.
Yeah, so I didn't get to see it. I listened to it because it was a day game, and I'm in a truck most of the day, so I'm able to at least listen to it. But we're still getting to know him from a personality standpoint, and throughout the winter, we kind of noticed he was a shrewd politician. He navigated the extension talks, wouldn't really commit one way or the other, as far as what he wanted. It just, you got the impression it was just business for him, and he was here to put his best foot forward, but we didn't know if it was for 2 years or for 5, 6, 7 years. So, we are kind of getting to know him, and he might have the dominance that Chris Sale, kind of showed throughout his first few years here in Boston, but he doesn't have the bravado. He's not pumping his chest at the end of every inning, and that might be a good thing. I don't know, but when you see his stats on paper from 2024, and he's just mowing down guys, and he has the highest strikeout per 9 of any starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. You just kind of picture a Chris Sale type guy, but we'll get to know him better, and he hasn't pitched in front of the Fenway crowd yet, so perhaps that's a little bit part of it. But it's nice to have a true ace at the front of your rotation. I felt pretty good on opening day. I felt really good going into yesterday, and as Jason was saying, I think on the pre-show, you need a stopper, and it was nice to see. If I was Alex Cora, I probably wouldn't have wanted him to go that last inning. I wouldn't have had him stretched out to 100 pitches on his second start, just barely into April. You've got an asset now for at least 5 years, and I'd like to protect it. I mean, you did go through 4 relievers the day before. It didn't help that Slayton got absolutely destroyed in that first game, but I would have just found a way to, just kind of manage his load a little bit. Eventually, I mean, these guys are going to start hitting 90 and 100 pitches much more sooner than later, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the comparison to Sale. And look, it's tough because Sale was the last ace that we had. So naturally we're going to compare the two, even though they're different pitchers. But I'm glad you brought that up because that stood out to me too. Like, just watching him, he just looks calm. He looks cool, calm, collected on the mound, but he can throw 99 if he has to. Like, he attacks hitters. He doesn't mess around. He goes right after them. And yeah, he doesn't have the showmanship. He's not, it's not throwing his glove if something goes wrong. Not that we've seen anything go wrong yet. But he's just much more relaxed out there. It felt like Sale, every time Core went to pull him, it was like, oh, is this going to be a fight? With Crochet, it doesn't feel that way. It feels more like, nope, I'm here to dominate. I'm going to do that. And when my time's done, okay, here's the ball. And I think that got in the way for Sale too much. I think his bravado and his need to be like Like he was a pitcher who wanted to be a dirt dog, and that just kind of doesn't work when you're an ace. You don't want to be the guy that's like, again, like you said, pounding your chest, like, no, don't take me out. I want to, you know, I want to keep going. Like it's Crochet doesn't feel like he needs that. It feels like he just, it feels like he's ready to do his job, go out there. Okay, 100 pitches, you want to pull me? Sure, no problem. I feel like that game, Sale would have been like, no, let me finish. Like, I want to finish the game. I want the complete game. Crochet doesn't need it. Crochet just wants to win. And, if he keeps pitching like that, he's going to win a lot of games. So, really encouraging to see. First couple of starts been great. Again, just I kind of agree with you that the 100 pitches, I'm not sure I would have done that. But at the same time, I think Cora really knew how badly they needed that win. And Crochet was in cruise control. So I think he was more like, you know what, just pitch the eighth and we'll have Chapman handle the ninth because I don't want to risk the bullpen giving it up here. And again, Crochet was just locked in. He was in command. So I think if they hadn't lost, the previous 3 games, maybe Crochet doesn't go out for the eighth inning. But I think just in that spot, that was Cora saying, we need this. We need this win and we need him to go just one more inning. So not ideal to be throwing 100 pitches this early, but at the same time, like you said, he's going to have to do it eventually. If you're the ace and you sign a contract like that, you got to be a workhorse too. You can't be, you can't be Blake Snell who wants to be pulled after 5 innings every time. You've got to be a real true ace if you're going to sign a deal like that. So early on, very encouraged with Crochet. He just looks like exactly as advertised, completely dominant. And again, between him and Campbell, those 2 contract extensions look really good so far. So definitely a good couple of days for the front office as well. And the Red Sox get more wins out of it, we'll take it. So any other follow-up thoughts on the Orioles series?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully nobody's looked bad yet. Well, Newcomb didn't look good actually, but his cutter was his dominant pitch in spring training. That's what won him the job, and that's the pitch he kept getting destroyed on. So maybe credit to the Orioles. Maybe their game planning is pretty elite. They were all over him, and they gave Tanner Houck some fits today as well. But yeah, just getting back to Garrett Crochet. I mean, it was a close game. Perhaps Cora was a little paranoid. If we don't win today, we're what, 2-7, something like that? No, 2-5.
2-5.
Yeah, 2-5. Right. Yeah, math is hard. But now we're 3-4, so it's much better. You could be 500 tomorrow. We'll get into the Cardinal series here pretty quick on the next show, but I don't know. I feel really good about this rotation, and we've got so much depth. It's really just the bullpen for me.
Yeah, I think it's the bullpen, particularly like the middle part. I think those guys are, they can be a little shaky. And the lineup, I think will wake up. I'm not too worried about. I mean, they scored a lot of runs in the finale. Getting back to Fenway will help. I think starting off on the road is always tough for a team, especially when it's back-to-back series on the road. I think that's always difficult. So getting those guys back to Fenway, I think, should help wake them up a little bit. Um, a little concerned about Connor Wong just because you have no other option. You traded away your other option. So hopefully this isn't like the season where he just takes a complete nosedive. But it's early, like you said early on in the show, it's like this is overreaction theater because it's the first 7 games. So, it's you're gonna overreact about a guy like Connor Wong just because it's staring you right in the face. But there's a good chance by the end of April he's steadied out and he's hitting 270 again. So, but yeah, otherwise, you got to feel pretty good about heading back home facing St. Louis now, who is off to a surprisingly hot start. But, I still think the Red Sox are the much better team. And I think being back at Fenway should really help. So, should be a fun series, which we will get into on the other show. So with that, we will wrap up this episode. Be sure to check us out, follow our Twitter page, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, all of that stuff. The Weekend Crew will be back with you guys Monday morning to recap the St. Louis Cardinals series. And we'll be coming with another show after this. A couple days, another one will be released. So check that out as well. And we'll see you all later. Take care.
Actually, the next show will be YouTube only. So if you've enjoyed following along, probably just go to the Bastards YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit notifications, and when we go live, you can follow along with that one as well. So it's gonna be entertaining. We're gonna be bashing stupid stuff we see on Facebook. And the one we're gonna lead off with, I haven't shared it with these two yet. It's a doozy. So yeah, switch over to YouTube because the secondary show that gets released the day after this one will probably only be on that one. So anyway, as Jason said, take care.